Thank you for
Welcome
joining us
to the
today.
Sisters for Prevention
And for
YouTube
more
channel
information,
and podcast.
please visit Chris's
I'm your host,
website or
Judy
my
Fitzgerald,
website at
and it's my great pleasure to bring you today's program. My very special
www.sisters4prevention.com.
guest today is Chris
If you like
White.
our content, please
Chris's
like and
cancer
subscribe
story is so
so that we can
amazing and
continue
complicated
to bring you
that we
the
have
best
recorded a
content.
3-part series to include
And
his
as
entire
always,
journey.
stay safe,
Links to the other parts
stay
of
healthy,
these series will be
may God bless.
posted at the end of each video. Chris White tried nearly every possible treatment option available to beat his melanoma. Yet, after 3 surgeries, multiple rounds of chemotherapy, and 3 attempts with immunotherapy, he was told to consider hospice care and get his end-of-life affairs in order. That was December 2019. Remarkably today, Chris is cancer-free, all thanks to a novel cell and gene therapy he received in a clinical trial called TILs, tumor infiltrating lymphocytes. Chris has said, there has been this belief in the world there will never be a cure for cancer, but cell and gene therapy feels like a cure. This is winning the war, not just the battle. This is the future of modern medicine. So join me in welcoming my very special guest, Chris White.
Thought it was a hemorrhoid till you discovered that it was cancer. You said was 6 months, you think, in that time frame?
Yeah, in the very beginning of January, because I remember in North Texas, it doesn't really become winter until after the first of the year. And then you're really mainly looking at about 6 weeks between January and February, where it's cold. The wind's coming out the north 20 miles an hour. It doesn't snow, it just ices. I mean, it's nasty. During a lot of the Christmas seasons, it's fall. I remember going through Christmas and then into the beginning of the year, and I was working a lot and everything, but I just felt kind of sweaty down below, for one way to say it. That's kind of weird. And before I knew it, I thought maybe I was like, well, I have like a zit or something in that spot. Like I was not being hygienically clean or something. I mean, I didn't know, but that was in the beginning of the year, right into January, because in March every year I go snowboarding. And I remember that's like when I have PTO or vacation time, that's what I would do. And there's this sweet little window that's like post President's Day, but before spring break for all the college and high school kids start getting there. Mm-hmm. And, the mountains get a solid base, best snow. It's not crowded. You go during the week. And I remember going out there and then sitting on the lift. And I think I wrote about this in one of the first chapters of my book, but I remember thinking, this sucks. This is uncomfortable. Is 2 of those 10-day biotics. That's about 20 days, give or plus the week. So you figure in maybe like a month in between. It wasn't until time into that May that I started to see him. And then it was in June that I got to the surgeon. And then once I saw him, I was able to get in for surgery within a few days to take care of this hernia. So, but it was, I always kick myself for going a little bit sooner and just to get it checked. I had phenomenal insurance. My employer is very understanding. I had one of those jobs where when you step away from it, it takes so much more to catch up the longer you're gone. That was always in my head.
Yeah, there's always something else to do, right? I talked to so many young moms who let their breast cancer go because the kids had dance recitals or something when they discovered it. And it's just a natural human thing to put other things before. I always like to ask, when you hear those words for the first time, you have cancer. To me, I remember that very moment, I was like a deer in the headlights because like you, I had no family.
The words melanoma, and I was trying to figure out how it made sense. I always associate that with, sun tanning and such. And I'm sitting here thinking I wasn't, like bent over with my rear end propped towards the sky. Like, I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think what do you mean? Like, how would this even happen? Like, I was just blown away. I was like, I was stunned. I was so stunned. And I say this in so many different interviews and every time I talk about it, but if the movie Fight Club that came out in 1999 with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, Edward Norton's character is just called the narrator. And then Brad Pitt's character is called Tyler Durden. It was just kind of like I stepped outside of myself and was, oh crap, it's like I could see myself. I vividly remember the apartment I was in and all that time of the day, because I got this call at 3:30, 3:40 on a Friday afternoon, and doctor's office and everywhere closes at 4 p.m. he personally called me and told me the news, and then said, gave me the phone number for an oncologist. He gave me the news and then said, call the oncologist immediately to get it on schedule, because, they're about to close. It's, almost that time of the day. And then he also told me to not tell any family members or go and look it up on the internet. I'm single. I don't have any kids, or I'm not in a relationship. So I definitely didn't want to go to an appointment like that by myself. My mom and my dad, even though they've been split up for 30 some odd years, they were still both are local. Both of my siblings and their families are local. So I called them up to let them know, so I could have someone come with. I got a hold of the oncologist and got in for the very first appointment the following Tuesday morning. So I still had to go throughout the weekend and then that Monday, but I didn't have any answers. So I knew that if I went to go start looking it up, then I would have questions. Everybody else would have questions. And I myself don't specifically remember if I started looking it up. Mm-hmm. But, my family did, of course. And, I could just tell by the look on their faces how big their eyes were and everything. But
did you have any clue at that point how serious this was?
No, not at all. I literally knew nothing about cancer other than what I'd seen through like TV and movies throughout the years. I just knew that cancer, you cut it out. Treatments that were out there are, you do chemo. There's, some people have radiation, but surgery, chemo, and radiation, you got to smoke some pot, you lose your hair, you're going to throw up, you're going to get some extra love. But I mean, like, that's literally the basis of what I thought cancer was about. I had no clue about other types of therapies. I had heard the word clinical trials, but I mean, I didn't have a clue like what that entailed or the advancements that have been made within the past couple of decades. I was about as naive as you can get when it comes to it. I literally just kind of positive about it. It was like, well, I feel fine, but they're telling me I got cancer. Everybody, come on, like, come with me. Like, hopefully it's going to be okay. But it's one of those things where we all have an expiration date, but you never really think about it. But it's like this visual of seeing like an actual hourglass. And then it's like, okay, well, now you can actually see the sand dripping from it. And then it becomes like real, but you don't know how fast sand is going to fall from that. But that's exactly how I explain it. But I had no clue what was about to happen.
I talk about BC and AD, before cancer and after diagnosis.
I love how you said that.
It's like a split in the road. And like you say, at the time you're diagnosed, you don't know what you don't know. And Dr. Google is not your friend. It's so important to tell other people is that do not go to an appointment by yourself, because it's so important to have someone taking notes. Because as you know, I'll let you talk about, I remember being in the office and it was like somebody was talking another language, and I was like an out of body experience. Like I knew I was there. I didn't know what they were saying or what, I had my husband with me and he took notes. I actually have since then suggested to people that they bring a tape recorder or record on their phone,
100%.
Right now that we have that possibility now. But so when you first found out, when did you find out how serious this was? Was it at that first oncology appointment, or what happened next?
So at that first appointment, I had brought everybody with me, and just like you were mentioning, it was like to me, I was listening like it was Charlie Brown's parents were talking. I don't.
I didn't want to steal that line from you. That was in your book. I didn't want to steal that line. By the way, this is Chris's book. It's amazing. You should buy it. After you hear his story, you're going to want to buy it. It's called Killing Cancer with TILs, and we're going to get to the TILs part in a little bit. So yeah. It was like Charlie Brown.
It was just this, like, they're speaking all kinds of vernacular that I might have heard before, but I had no clue what it meant. Like, I remember being asked shortly after that when I was at work, they're like, "What's your prognosis?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that word means." I was just trying to say what I knew at the time, what was going on. I didn't know like what that word means. When I didn't even know what the word oncology really mean. I just, it was one of those things that was like, this is a completely different, like, not like another city or county or state or country or continent. It was a whole nother planet and universe. I mean, like, it was way out there beyond my grasp. And so having all of my family there, definitely note taking. And then, yeah, like we recorded every one of my appointments, because even though you're taking notes and, we're all listening and stuff, being able to go back and reference, that was extremely huge. But the seriousness of it, like I really didn't know until I got down. I'm in North Texas and I went to Texas Oncology, but they were all talking words like that I didn't really understand because of the primary source. And they were using words like squamous and this and that. And my oncologist at Texas Oncology just knew it was rare based upon my pathology results, SOX 10 marked this and, blah, blah, blah. And so it was like, okay, we need to move pretty quick. It's already known, if you already had the original tumor I had that I got removed was the lymph node in my groin, but that was the one that came from my pathology. And that was my second tumor. The first tumor was the one from my rectum. And so then I knew at that moment, like, hey, that's where the source came from. And so then I got that removed. But at that very first oncology appointment, they went ahead, and they ran a full set of labs up on me. And they were like, hey, now that we know your pathology, let's get you in for a PET scan since we know you have local metastasis from your rectum to your groin to see if it's anywhere else. And so, I didn't really know what the different types of scans were. But the reason I eventually down the road end up knowing it was extremely serious is because they were able to get me in for a PET scan the very next day. And the way they were able to do that is because my oncologist main PA, the RN, she was able to talk to her connection at the imaging place and they let me in before the place even opened. At the first appointments, like at 7 a.m., they got me in like at 6 or 6:30. I remember the guy was there and he like had to go manually open up the automatic door and all of that. And so, just her sense of urgency to get me in for that scan that fast, like eventually like rang some bells like, oh crap, this is real serious. But once I got down to MD Anderson and you had that first appointment, which was about 2 weeks from my initial surgery, that's when they're the ones who told me all about, here's the type of, cancer this is. These are the statistics, the chance to make it 5 years is like 14%, no known cause, no standard of care. That what I thought I knew about cancer, like, hey, surgery, cut it out. He was the one who told me, is like, as soon as you go to cut it out, it pisses off your cancer. It gets mad and it wants to run. So if I would have saw him first, we would have done some sort of systemic treatment first, which is now called, neoadjuvant treatment. But as soon as you go to do a surgery, it aggravates and makes the cells mad and they start, moving around, when you're diagnosed with it already with local metastasis, I was stage 3C and I didn't know, the chart of, 1 to 4 and how all that works, but it sounded pretty serious. Amount of different people he wanted me to see and test I needed to take to complete and make up the multidisciplinary team was just a lot. And I couldn't get it all done in that first meeting. And so I came back, in the first week of August to do that. But it included seeing the radiologist, the surgical oncologist, the main guys. There was like a handful of people. I did ultrasounds, MRIs, some more CTs. And so just the amount of everything that just went into figuring out like where it's at and what are we going to do just kind of was like, oh, this isn't just like, oh, hey, like, you had some cancer, let's cut it out. The seriousness started to really sink in, if I like emotionally like showed it or displayed it, but, it sent my mind, through a tornado.
Yeah, it's like they're giving you all these directions and you're just kind of following like a little sheep because you really don't know what it's going to be like. And, even though you ask questions, nobody can really prepare you for what I call it a journey, but whatever that process is going to be like. So back up for a second, because you just said an important word there. So the melanoma was a squamous cell carcinoma?
No, it said it was a possible carcinoma, but my initial oncologist, she's a hematologist and an oncologist, but due to the rarity of the pathology that melanoma, possible carcinoma, SOX 10 marked something, it was a rare pathology. And so it was an unsure of exactly what type of melanoma, because that would depend on what the treatment plan would be. She had initially mentioned, that If it's cutaneous type of melanoma, then, that's where they often do, surgery followed immunotherapy. And there's, kind of lines like that. And I started hearing those kind of words, but it would all depend upon the specific origin, the actual specific type of it and everything. But she admitted to me that was over her head, and that in order to have the best possible outcome, I would need to see someone that actually specialized in this. And that's why I was like, yeah, I'm down to go anywhere, do anything. And it's only, I think, almost a 4-hour drive to get from where I live in Dallas down to MD Anderson in Houston. Yeah, I mean, I will always be grateful that she didn't, just try to wing it and stuff. But she was like, hey, like, I'm not an expert in this, and you should see an expert. And she said that, she'd try to do her best to work with them, which I was able to navigate. But
that is so important. That is such a rare thing, because many times when I talk to patients that have not had a good outcome, they stayed with their local treatment group, their local doctor group, and they don't admit to them that they don't know the right way. And so they just do standard of care the best that they know, but they're not up on all the latest developments and all the latest technology. So, and the excuse I get from people is, oh, I couldn't get a second opinion. That would hurt my doctor's feelings. Honey, this is your life.
Yeah.
Your doctor's not God, so don't make him God, okay? And I don't think he thinks he's God.
100%.
But that's too much responsibility to put on someone. But so when did you actually get your first treatment?
Thank you for joining us today. And for more information, please visit Chris's website or my website at www.sisters4prevention.com. If you like our content, please like and subscribe so that we can continue to bring you the best content. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. May God bless.